Hey there, Jesse Leach from Killswitch Engage, Times of Grace, and The Weapon, here to talk to you about my top 5 favorite Roadrunner Records albums. Number 1 would be Obituary, Slowly We Rot. Came out in 1989. I didn't hear it in 89. I heard it, I want to say about 1992. And that was the first death metal record I ever heard. And it totally blew me away. And I remember listening to that cassette tape over and over again and just being blown away by the vocals and the speed and the sound. And to this day, Obituary are still killing it. Great death metal band. They had a huge influence on me, and one of the first death metal band really that I ever latched onto and listened to over and over again. So all hails Obituary. Number 2, I would say Machine Head, The Burning Red. Now, I liked Machine Head before this record. I just thought the image, the attitude, and the sound of that band were so vicious, and it had this kind of like punk rock attitude to it, which really drew me to listen to them. But I think The Burning Red for me was when they really started to write good songs, and it's got sort of a rap element to it, but it's not too over the top. I love it. It's got groove, it's got anger, but there's also good songwriting on it. And I'm just a big Rob fan. I think Rob Flynn is a great dude, a friend of mine, and somebody I still admire as a vocalist and as a human being. So yeah, the Mighty Machine Head. Next off, I'd say Madball, Set It Off. That came out in 94. And when that came out, that was the king of all things hardcore, New York City style hardcore. I don't think you can talk about hardcore as a genre without mentioning Madball, and that record set the standard. It's got that attitude. It's got that, just that middle finger to your face. Like, I'm gonna do shit the way that I want to do. I don't care what you think. I don't care what authority says. And I still feel that way now. So I'm a big Madball fan, so all hails to Madball. Next up, Suffocation, Effigy of the Forgotten. Came out in 91. And I think that record, almost every metal band, and even some of the hardcore and deathcore bands, just ripped off. They're like riffs from that record set the standard for breakdowns, and just the brutality and the rawness of it. Because their next record, Pierce From Within, it had more of a studio quality to it. It was really tight and produced well, where I think Effigy of the Forgotten has more of that raw, angsty sound to it. There's a real human element to it. Suffocation have always been an incredible death metal band, and I think for that time frame in the mid-90s, you couldn't touch them. There wasn't a band that you could touch that could touch Suffocation as far as brutality, speed, dexterity. Killer band. Next up, Opeth, Ghost Reveries, 2005. Massive Opeth fan. I got into them from Blackwater Park, and I love Deliverance. I love when they do the mellow stuff. But Ghost Reveries is, it's kind of that timeless feel to it. Great songwriting, and you get a bit of everything in that. Just that mixture of melody and brutality and the melancholy, and just great lyrics, poetry, really. Great record. Big Opeth fan. So, growing up in the metal, punk, and heavy music scene, that was my gateway to feeling liberated, to feeling like I wasn't alone in this world. I found my tribe, I found my people, I found my sound, and that would go on to define me throughout my teen years, through my 20s, and to this day, I identify with hardcore music, with metal, with punk. It's all very much a huge part of who I am, and I'll be that way till the day I die. It just gave me a sense of community and identity, and for someone like me, I just never really fit in when I was younger. And when I found my little community in Providence, Rhode Island, revolved around Club Babyhead, the living room. Those are places those was my church. That was my church. It was my college. It was my everything. And it really made me the person that I am today. The do-it-yourself ethos, the take no bullshit from people, question authority. All those things still apply to me to this day. And it's all because of the music and the culture. That still lingers on. But back then, it really was a culture, pre-internet. You had to know somebody. You had to be part of it. You had to show up to the shows. You had to be there. You couldn't just observe from the internet and cherry pick what you liked. You had to be there and you had to live it. And I still hold that special. It's got a place in my heart and will forever.